What is going on, everybody? We are going to be jumping into a live Q&A session here, talking about Salt Lake City, Utah, everything you want to know about Salt Lake City. And we're going to be talking about a couple articles, what's happening in the market, what you can expect moving forward with kind of the state of the just the market overall. You know, the market's been in kind of a crazy place lately, and there's been a lot happening. And I just want to update everybody. It's been about a month since we did a new update on the Utah market. So we're going to talk about that here today. We're going to be checking in here. Make sure we can get this set up. All right. So it looks like we've got everybody coming in. Hopefully people are getting into the live video here. And we can get started here in just a moment. Okay, guys, so what I want to talk about here today is, it looks like the notification just went out, so we're going to wait for that. All right. It looks like we got people jumping in. What's up, Johnny? It's you and me, man. We're making this happen. You want to talk about the market? Let me know what questions you have. You guys ready to make a move yet, or what's going on? I'm just pulling up the sales data here on my other screen real quick, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening in the market. I wanted to pull up sales data for Utah County, Salt Lake County, and Davis County, which are the three main counties here along the Wasatch Front. Of course, all cities and counties are seeing a lot of growth. Johnny, I think you're still about 6 months out by the book anyway. We'll have a conversation about that. So let me know when you're ready, and we'll make it happen. I'm honestly thinking for you and Carolina, it's probably the sooner the better. So just something to kind of keep in mind there with that. All right, guys, so let's jump into things. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss here today. I've got two articles I want to share with you. I've also got the sales data from the last couple months for the Wasatch Front here. The numbers here are a little bit surprising. It's a little bit crazy to see the numbers that are here. I never imagined we'd be in this situation with everything happening in the market. It is kind of a crazy time. And, you know, honestly, prices kind of just keep running up, and I don't see any slowdown in sight. I think that we'll see a lot of the same growth overall. And, you know, kind of moving forward, I think it's going to be a lot of the same story as far as, you know, what's happening in the market and where prices are going to go, and, you know, what catalysts will be there to continue pushing those prices up, or potentially keeping us where we're at. So the thing I want to share with you here, we're going to come over here. Let's do the share screen. Let me share my screen here. Share screen. And we'll share this screen here. Close out these so we're good to go. All right, so the thing that I want to talk about here today, we'll make this a little bit bigger. We're going to zoom in here. So this is the sales data for, hey, what's up? Greetings from Germany. That's pretty freaking awesome. All the way from Germany. I've had people from all around the world reach out and watch my videos, so it's pretty cool to see where people are from. Obviously, Germany here on the video today. I've had people from Dubai, South Africa, Japan, Czechoslovakia, basically all over the world reach out watching these videos. It's pretty crazy. You're going to watch the Utah Jazz game. Hey, honestly, the Utah Jazz are doing pretty good this year, which is pretty exciting to see. You know, the Utah Jazz had their good run back in the late 90s. And ever since then, they've kind of been crap. So it's good to see them on top again and, you know, doing well. I'm not a huge sports fan, at least not the Jazz. I mean, I like them. It's good to see them win, but I don't follow them personally. But nevertheless, let's talk a little bit about the sales data here on the screen. So what I want to show here, let me get rid of this. Let me come over here and try this. All right, so this is a little bit better. So the sales data that we've got here, the important things you want to look at are the month over here on the left-hand side. This number here, the second number, is the sales count, which is how many homes actually sold during that time period. This number here is the volume of homes that have sold. And then you've got the median price, which homes were listed at, and then median sales price here, or the actual sales price that it sold for, I should say. And then you've got the percentage, what's the ratio between these two numbers here? Square footage, price per square foot, median bedroom size, bathroom size, and days on market. So the things that we're going to be looking at here today are how many homes sold, what this ratio looks like, and median days on market. So the things I want to point out here, looking at these numbers, here in March, April is not going to be fully complete because we're still in the middle of the month. So this data is going to be a little bit skewed from what we're seeing so far. But I think the trend is going to hold from where it's at currently. So if we look at March 2021, and I want to go back to, we're kind of in a weird time because right now we're looking at everything that's happened since the pandemic. So looking back to March of 2020, this is like right before we were going right into the spring market. Things were starting to heat up. And then right at the end of March is kind of when everything shut down. And so these numbers are going to be a little bit different. So we're actually going to look back all the way to 2019 as well. Let me go like this because I want to look at 2019 data just so we can see how many homes usually sell at this time of year. So in March 2019, we had 1,800 homes on the market. March of 2020, we had 1,858 homes sell. So almost the same exact number. This year in March, we only had 1,744. So it was 100 less. This is for Utah County, Wasatch County, Utah County, Salt Lake County, and Davis County. So for those three counties here along the Wasatch Front, our home sales were down about 100. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but when it's actually, when you actually take the percentage of that, I mean, that's roughly, I think it's roughly like 6%, give or take. So sales were down 6% in March, which is something to note. That's really important because the information that we're going to see going forward here, if we take April, we're currently on April 14th, we're at 660. Let's say we double that because we're halfway through the month, we're only going to be at like 1,300. Now, there will be more homes that close towards the end of the month just because that's kind of the general that's generally when homes close. People want to close before the end of the month. So I do expect that this will be closer to like probably 1,700, at least at today's numbers. At today's numbers, this is only 660. That's a little scary when we're only halfway through the month. That seems a little bit low. We need those numbers to be higher because if we go back up and look at April of 2020, sales did drop because everything shut down. People took their home off the market. People did not want to sell. It was kind of a scary time. And so people were like, oh, we're not sure if we want to do this. This is something we need to slow down on and reconsider. So April of 2020 was 1,756 sales. For April of 2019, we're at 2,000. So normally from March until June, we're like ramping up. June, July, August, we're ramping up. We go from 1,800 sales up to about 2,500 sales for these three counties during that time frame. So we really need those sales to be ramping up in order to help with this inventory problem that we have. There's just not enough inventory. There's not enough homes for sale. And this is what's causing prices to really increase at this time. So really quick, guys, as I keep going on this, if you have questions, drop them in the comment section below. I will answer them. We're going to talk about the sales data here. And then I've got 2 articles I want to share with you as well that's going to be helpful for you. If you're thinking about making a move here to Utah, get in touch with me. As always, you can contact me anytime. Call, text, or email is fine. But get in touch with me and drop your comments in the comment section below. So here in June of 2020, this is when everybody kind of realized like, oh, wow, the real estate market is actually going to be really hot. So sales for last summer were actually up pretty significantly. June and July, we're at 27 and 28, almost 2,900 sales, which is well above where we were in June and July of 2019. So that was actually really good to see, I think, because people realized, hey, we still need to buy and sell real estate because living at home and working from home became such a big thing. Everybody was getting used to that they wanted to spend extra money on the place they were living, get that home office, or make a move to a bigger or smaller house, right? So people finally kind of realized that, and sales really picked up into last year. However, sales count is still down. Now, as I move on, I want to talk a little bit about the price increases because the price increase is a little bit crazy, to be totally honest. I don't know what to say because it's just been kind of one of those crazy things where it's just gone up so much that it almost seems like, okay, are we at the top? Are we at the top? Is it going to keep going? Is it going to keep going? And I think, honestly, I think it will keep going. I don't see any catalysts that are going to slow that down. We've got tons of people coming into the state. We've got a lot of people here living already in Utah that are not leaving the state. And we've got a lot of kids, that Utah has the highest median family size, which means lots of kids. A lot of those kids are growing up, they're 25, they're 30, they're 35, they're in that time zone where they're in that age where they want to purchase homes, and there's just not enough out there, but they want to buy. People want to buy homes, but there's just not enough out there for inventory, because builders aren't building them as fast. Cities are restricting permits. Labor and supplies are backed up. And a lot of people still just don't want to move, because of coronavirus. People don't want people in their house. So those are kind of the reasons causing the inventory shortage here. Now, if we look back, all right, so we're going to be looking at March 2021 because this is the last full month of data. You can see that the median sales price, or list price, I should say, was at 453,000. And the median sales price, what that home actually sold for, was at $482,000. This means that on average, for all homes across the board, condos, townhomes, single family homes, small homes, big homes, luxury, everything across the board, median sales price for these counties was at $482,000, which is almost $30,000 above on average from where the home was listed at. So if a home comes up for 453, you can almost bet that you're going to be offering 482 to be able to get that home. So I just want to be realistic about where the market's at right now. That is 106%, meaning that you're offering somewhere between 5 and potentially 8 or 9% above the list price in order to get your offer accepted. That's just the reality of where we're at right now. If we look back to March of 2020, you will see that our sales price has gone up $90,000. Our median sales price went from $392,000 here in March of 2020, where you could get a home for slightly less than it was listed for. And here in March of 2021, we're sitting at $482,000. So if you bought a home last year in March, you already have theoretically $90,000 of equity, which is kind of just crazy. So it's really crazy to see that. That type of growth is just unheard of. That's all I can say. If we go back all the way to March of 2019, we were at 351,500. So from here to here, that's roughly a $41,000 jump. So to see a $41,000 jump from March 2019 to March 2020, that's still a big jump, $40,000 in 1 year. But then to see a $90,000 jump, over double that previous gain, to see that jump go up that significantly is pretty crazy. Now, I think the important thing here is looking at these numbers, you're going to see that as the inventory went down, going into the winter months, from 2,600, 25, 22, 21, 1,300, 1,382, it really fell off a cliff as we went into January and February. This is a little bit surprising because as we look back here, it usually starts falling off earlier into November and December. January is, of course, always the lowest. It always drops pretty significantly, but these numbers were still pretty high, for November and December of 2019, the numbers were at 1,900. But here they were still at 22, 2,100. So inventory is actually pretty good, but over the last 3 months, it just has fallen down and it's way down. So as inventory goes down, these numbers here for what people are offering for the homes is going up. We're seeing these numbers go up, and this is where it kind of causes a problem because you're having to offer more and more and more in order to get into a home. So this is kind of it's a little bit scary. I'll be honest. We can see here that the biggest jump has come in just the last 2 months. This is because of the squeeze that happened in the market. Now, as you look back, January 2021, the median sales price was at 439, which is a good 10,000 above where homes were being listed at. But we did, looking back all the way here to, let's say, August, that was only $20,000 up, which is still a lot, for that short amount of time. But it was 420, 425, 428, 435, 439. So it kind of climbed up slowly, but then as the inventory fell off a cliff here, the prices jumped up significantly. People came in and they said, okay, now we need to offer, 3% over. Now we need to offer 6% over. And in April, we're currently sitting at 4% over the list price on average. So listing prices have gone up $25,000 and sales prices have gone up $18,000 so far for April sales data. So that's kind of where we're at here. The last thing I want to point out on the sales data, and then we'll jump into these articles, is that you do have decreasing days on market. So for January, February, and March, we're at 7 days in January, 5 days in February, March, right here. And if we look back to what it normally is during this time of year, January was 39 last year in 2020. From 39 to 7 is a drastic change. From 32 in February to 5, from 17 to 5. Usually, even in the summer, when things are really bumping, when it's in the spring and summer rush, April, May, and June of 2019, we're at 18, 16, 17. Still 2 to 3 weeks on market on average. Even in last year, when the market really picked up and things were moving, April, May, June, July, we were at 9 days, 15 days, 17, 12. And then it started to drop significantly here as we went into the latter half of the year. This is when interest rates really dropped down. So that caused a lot of people to rush into the market. And this is also when inventory started to come down, and so there was less available to choose from. And so when somebody was coming into the market, they were willing to, they didn't have as much to choose from, and so they just had to pick something right off the bat. So all in all, I know that's a handful. Prices are increasing. I won't, I'm a real estate agent. Obviously, I make my living from helping people purchase homes. So I won't say, I try not to be biased when it comes to that stuff. I always say, look, if you're in this for the long run, if you're in it to hold real estate and use it as a wealth building tool, and you're in a position where you're never going to be underwater, or not underwater on the property, but if you get yourself into a position where you don't have to sell the home, that's going to be the best position. Because even if the market does pull back, even if there is a drop, as long as you can keep making that payment, or worst case, rent out that house and be able to at least break even on your payment, you should be okay. I think without a doubt, in 10, 15, or 20 years, these prices are going to be much lower, or they're going to be much higher at that time than they are right now. For our median sales price to be, let's say, 500,000, I think those same exact homes will be selling for 6, 7, 750 in 15 years. So if you can hold on to it, it can be a very powerful wealth building tool. That said, if renting is the right choice for you, if you're making a move here and you just want to rent for the first year, that's totally fine. You do get some benefits from that. You do get the flexibility of not having to purchase something, not having the bidding war, not having to be forced into something. Renting is generally much easier. It's a much more straightforward process. So it does have some benefits that way. But just be prepared that instead of paying, like if you had said that in November, you would have been paying $428. Well, now if you're saying that in April, if you moved here and wanted to rent in November at $428 for the median home price, now you're going to be paying $500. So you're paying an additional $70,000 just for waiting 5 months. I don't think the growth is going to be that insane going forward. I don't think that we're going to continue to see these crazy numbers. I'm hoping that as we go into spring and summer, we will see these numbers slow down, because it needs to. It's just unsustainable at this point, and it's getting a little out of hand. So I'm hoping these numbers will come down as inventory goes up. All right. Now, with that said, I want to pull this over here. We're going to take a look at this article together. And here's the good news, guys. If you're from California, a new study says Californians are not the reason for Utah's rising home prices. Wow, holy crap. Imagine that. If you lived here long enough, if you already moved to Utah, you're probably thinking like, oh man, everybody here in Utah likes to complain. Oh, it's everybody from California moving here. That's why home prices are going up. This article came out last week. A client who moved from the East Coast actually shared this with me and said, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Is this true? Is this not true? What can you tell me about it? And I thought this was super interesting to see, because a lot of people like to blame others from California, but it's actually, this is actually suggesting that it's not, that's not the reason for it. So it says the Utah Foundation looked into whether a large number of California residents leaving their state is causing the spike. What they found was the complete opposite. Instead of people moving in, the organization says the reason behind skyrocketing prices is that people aren't leaving Utah, especially in the Salt Lake area. I presume, I'm going to be giving some commentary on this, but I presume that's going to be because we have an amazing lifestyle and we've got a lot of jobs coming here. We've got entry-level jobs, and then we've got move-up jobs where you can become a very high-level professional. You can start a business. You can do so many things here in Utah that you don't have to leave the area, right? So a lot of people are choosing to stick around rather than going out of state to find, jobs typically. The reason why most people live or move in the first case is because they want a better lifestyle, right? So if they can get that better lifestyle here in the state and not have to move, not have to, leave for work or anything like that, then that's obviously a huge plus. So a New York Times report earlier this year blamed Californians for Idaho's home prices rising 20% in 2020. According to the article, a mayoral candidate for one city even campaigned on keeping California residents out of the state. Many California residents are now able to leave behind the high price of home ownership on the Pacific Coast and work from other locations due to remote access. But the Utah Foundation study says fewer people, including Californians, actually moved to the Salt Lake metro area during 2020. According to the study, during 2020, fewer people actually moved into the Salt Lake metro when compared to last year's. Most of that population growth is linked to fewer people leaving, 20 people per 100,000, and fewer people leaving is functionally equivalent to more people coming in. Utah is currently at an all-time low in home inventory across the state, down 64% from February 2020, according to the latest data from the Utah Association of Realtors. So that is the end of the article here. Just a quick, short article. Very interesting to see. I think it's obviously a mixture of low inventory that's causing this issue, as well as people not leaving, that's causing home prices to go up like we had just talked about talking about sales data. So the other article I want to talk about here is just another one that was put out March 26th. So that's roughly like 2.5 weeks ago, maybe almost 3 weeks ago. It says Utah is experiencing a record home shortage coupled with increasing demand. The combination has created headaches for anyone looking to buy in the current market. We've never seen a market like this in the history of Utah, said Dave Robinson, former president of the Utah Association of Realtors. Robinson said the shortage is due in parts to the effects of the Great Recession in 2008. Prior to the market crash, home builders were constructing 10% more homes than the market demanded. It's a trend that started in the mid-1990s. Robinson said, after 2008, builders began scaling back how many new homes were going up every year. So we're caught up in the builders underbuilding for the last 10 years. I think this is true. I do think that, in my situation, I have seen builders underbuilding, over the last couple of years. They haven't been putting up as many homes as they could. But I would also say that I've seen a big problem with the cities and the counties being able to provide permits for the builders to actually go out there and build stuff. I mean, working with the city to try and get permits approved is just an absolute nightmare. People try and go in and get permits to, remodel their house. And it's like a month-long process just to get some permits pulled to change some electrical switches. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. So the process for being able to build a home and getting permits for that is extremely difficult. In addition to that, everybody always says, oh, we need more affordable housing. We need more housing to go into the area. But as soon as a developer comes in and says, hey, look, the only way to build real estate that's going to be more affordable is to put more units into a smaller amount of land. The cost of building and that land cost has gone up significantly. So builders just can't build homes and make a profit, right? They're in this business to make a profit. So if they can't do that, then they're not going to build homes. So we're kind of stuck in the middle where we're like, builders need to be able to make a profit. And how do they do that? Well, they put in more units. Well, getting the county and the city to approve putting more units in specific areas is not so easy, because as soon as you do that, every single homeowner around there says, no, not in my backyard. You're not putting up that condo building in my backyard. I don't want to see that when I drive to work. And that's just the reality that we're in at this point. Is just like, the builders are kind of like stuck there saying, well, we need permits. We can only build so many houses per acre. What are we supposed to do to keep housing affordable and also to build enough units? And it's just not happening. So this trend has led to an all-time low in home inventory across the state, down 64% from February 2020. To give you an example of that, across the Wasatch Front, a normal market would usually have 14,000 to 20,000 homes on the market. Right now, we have just 1,100. That sounds a little bit extreme, a little bit high to my number, 14,000 homes on the market. I mean, when I checked today, we had 1,800 homes on the market. I usually see this number closer to like 4,000 to 6,000. I don't know where he's getting his numbers, but sometimes those numbers can be skewed. Nevertheless, we are down pretty significantly. Booming real estate markets are popping up all over the country, but with Utah's steady economy and low unemployment, the state has become one of the hottest markets in the U.S. Median price for a home has gone up 15%. That's a big chunk. Normal would be like 3 to 4%. The shortage has also created a negative feedback loop where people who want to sell can't find a new home to get into. They then opt to wait to sell, which contributes to the shortage. This is so true, because most people, let's say you've got like a $400,000 home. If you're going to sell that home, a lot of people, that would be considered like a starter home in today's market. A lot of people in that home are going to be moving up to a more expensive home that's probably bigger. Let's say it's a younger couple. They've got a kid, and then maybe they got a second one on the way, and they say, hey, we need a bigger house. Let's move up. Well, when they go searching for that home in the $600,000-$700,000 price range, it's not out there. It doesn't exist because there's just not enough inventory. So they can't find something, which means that they're not able to sell their home, which means that somebody else who's renting or living with mom and dad or just getting out of school or coming into the area, they're not able to purchase either, because that entry-level home is not on the market either. So it's kind of this continual problem that goes all the way up the chain. All right, so this last part says they're really relying. All right, sorry, camera turned off for a second, but we're back on. So it says they're really relying on just purchasing builders. The good news is the real estate market tends to be seasonal, with February and March typically seeing the lowest inventory throughout the year. Interesting information here, because I think that March and for what we saw, it's usually a little bit earlier, like January and February. Nevertheless, March is still low. seeing the lowest inventory throughout the year. The bad news is Utah has such a shortage of homes that even with new inventory, supply will not catch up with demand. Right now, short-term wise, we're really looking at a record low of inventory for at least another year for sure. Robinson said the best thing you can do to remain competitive as a buyer in the current market is to have all your ducks in a row, secure financing if you need it, guaranteeing a fast transaction, and most importantly, having a seasoned realtor in your corner, just like myself. That is right. So that is, those are the two articles I wanted to share with you guys. Let me know what questions you have. If you have questions, drop them in the comment section below. Jamie is making a comment. See a big problem with Salt Lake City. Salaries many jobs are offering are way lower than housing and other expenses. Salt Lake City might end up like Portland. Mention minimum wage is not going up, but housing is. Jamie, you said you love Utah and want to move there, but the job you want is underpaying what you make in Portland. Yeah, that's a really valid concern. I do think that, I do wish there was room for wages to go up. However, I don't want to get into maybe my own personal views on wages and minimum wage and all that stuff. But I do think that, I always look at things in a pretty logical sense. Whether it comes to house prices, wages, or, just what's happening, right? Like what's the logical demand or what's the logical reason behind what's happening? And I think the way that I look at it is, if there's a supply and a demand issue, if there's enough people looking for those jobs, then employers don't have as hard of a time hiring for those jobs, right? If you got a job and it says, let's say it's a $50,000 a year job. Well, if an employer can go out there and hire somebody for $50,000, then that's what they're going to do. If they're qualified to do that job, they're going to find somebody. But if they go out there and there's nobody that they can hire for $50,000 that's qualified to do that job, well, then they're going to have to offer $60,000, and wages will kind of go up in that manner. So I don't know, maybe that's just my opinion of, how things will work. The thing is, as people continue to make more money, then they're going to only end up, that's only going to push up housing prices more. Let's say everybody's wage went up 10%. Well, automatically everything else is going to jump up pretty, 10% as well, because everybody's making 10% more. They can afford a little bit more house. They're willing to spend a little bit more money on those things. So I don't know that increasing wages is necessarily the answer. I do think it's a good thing. I do wish wages would go up, but I don't think that's going to be a fix for like housing prices or making it more affordable. I think in order to make things more affordable, we have to continue to get labor into the force so that we can continue building houses. And then number two, people just need to be more flexible. People want to move here and live in Salt Lake because we have such an amazing lifestyle, and people need to be more flexible with, high density housing, whether that's high rise buildings, whether it's condos, it's townhomes, or whatever. I mean, people just need to be more flexible with that. Everybody kind of wants to fix this problem, but nobody wants to see a condo building go up in their backyard. So that's my take on the issue, is that people need to be more flexible with that. That's the only way that we're going to be able to get housing to be more affordable and to kind of slow down this growth. Either you're going to build more to put it out there to get it into the market so that people have homes to buy, or interest rates have to go up. And unfortunately, that would mean that buyers would not be able to afford as nice of a home as they would like. Jamie, I think you're right on. I think I'd rather see salaries go up, not minimum wage, because once you raise the minimum wage, then other expenses go up. I do think that's true. I think that can be kind of true across the board, though. I think as salaries go up anywhere, you're going to see prices go up, especially if it's kind of across the board. Things are going to go up and they're going to continue to get more expensive. So, interesting point there. I do have to agree with you on that point. All right, guys. So if anybody has questions, drop them in the comment section below. I'm here to answer questions for you for the next little bit. And I'm going to be hanging around here for the next, 10, 15 minutes. Let's chat about anything you want to chat about. And then we'll sign off if there's no questions. Now we've covered the sales data and those two articles that we wanted to talk about. Johnny, are you still here? Dallas, if you're on the line, this is a quick little shout out for you. If you're not on the line, well, then we're going to have a talk. But yeah, guys, the market here in Utah is continuing to go up. We're seeing just a massive amount of growth. I don't see things slowing down. I think that, in my own opinion, I think that if we saw prices level out, that would be pretty significant. If we saw a 5% pullback in the market, if prices went from 500,000 and they went down to 480 or 475, that would be extremely surprising. I don't see that happening with just how much growth is out there. I really don't see that happening. I don't see a foreclosure crisis, even with the eviction ban, even with people in forbearance. I just don't see the foreclosures coming because that's such a small portion of the market. If somebody was in, underwater on their house, or was behind on payments, I should say, if they're behind on payments, they're easily just going to go and list their home. And if it's, I mean, like let's look at the sales data again. If you Let's go like this. If you let's say you bought your house, back in March, you bought your house in March, and then all of a sudden you lost your job and you're like, oh crap, what am I going to do? Well, now I'm behind on payments. You went into forbearance, started getting not having to make your payments for a while. And then you come out, let's say a forbearance ends and now you have to sell your house. Well, you're actually going to be in the positive almost over $100,000 just by holding on to the house for the last year. So I don't see foreclosures happening, because foreclosures only happen when people are unable to sell their home, either because there's no demand for it or because they're underwater and they have to do a short sale. So I don't see foreclosures happening. I don't see interest rates going up. They have ticked up. They ticked up about a month ago, maybe a month and a half, and then they've kind of stayed steady for where they're at right now. I don't see them going up any higher. I think that they're going to actually kind of stay in the general range that they're at. I think they could go up or down about 0.5%. But to really make a difference, I think they'd have to go up a full percent, maybe 1.5% to really make a difference in what's happening in the housing market. So as long as interest rates don't go up, there's no foreclosures, evictions are not happening. I just don't see a slowdown in this market, coming to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen here in Utah. I do think that there's a chance that we will see potentially, prices decrease in other areas, like let's say New York or San Francisco or some of these other big cities where people are getting out of. I do think it's possible we could see prices decrease in those areas. But here in Utah, Boise, Phoenix, Colorado, Austin, Nashville, a lot of these big cities, I don't think they're going to see price drops anytime soon. So what I've been telling people is like, hey, get into the house. You might have to pay more, and it sucks. Hopefully the value of the home goes up in the coming months. You never know. Look at this as a long-term investment. Look at this over the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And I encourage a lot of people to look at this, look at real estate as owning that home beyond just the time that you're going to live in it. Look at it as a rental property after you move out and purchase something else, and use it to build that long-term wealth. A lot of people got really, really rich off of building wealth from real estate. So anyway, just some thoughts there. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions pop up, but if you guys have questions, drop them in the comment section and I will be sure to answer them. And what we're going to do here, stick around for a couple more minutes, see if anybody's got questions. If not, then we will sign off for the night. We've got a really cool vlog video coming next week. We're going to be having a vlog on Highland and Alpine, which is going to be really exciting. These are two cities that are in the northeast part of Utah County. We're just going to pull that up here really quick. We're going to be talking about Highland and Alpine. These are two of the more expensive areas here along the Wasatch Front, but they are that way for a reason. I mean, the houses here, the views, the big lots, everything you get is just absolutely phenomenal. They do have a higher price range, but it's just gorgeous there. They've got a lot of really cool houses. So this kind of sits, I'll zoom out here so you guys can see this. So Salt Lake City is up here, up this direction. And then you've got Salt Lake County that comes all the way down to here. And then as we zoom in, this will take you back down to, you've got Lehigh over here, and then Highland and Alpine up against, up in this little cove here, if you will. So you've got Mount Timpanogos over here. Really popular hike. Obviously, they got the National Monument there. This is such a good here, and then commute into Lehigh or into American Fork for work. So you've got a lot of doctors, lawyers, tech workers, C-class executives. A lot of those people live in these areas just because you can get big homes. It's really nice. It's quiet. There's not a lot of commercial stuff going on here. So a lot of people like to live there. So anyway, that video will be coming out next week. Make sure to catch that here on the channel. It'll probably come out on Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe even Sunday. I don't know. We'll see when it comes out. Johnny, I'm glad you're still here. Steve has a question. Is there a community feel, or is everyone all about work and then going home to their family only? That's a great question, Steve. I think that's going to depend a little bit on the area that you're looking at. I do think that it will also depend on, um, we're kind of in a funky time right now because of coronavirus, everything going on. People have been kind of stuck at home and they've been in a spot where it's a little bit hard to get out and do community type stuff, go to dinner with friends or go and do entertainment things with other people, or even just like neighborhood barbecues, right? Those things are a little bit tough to do right now. Honestly, things are opening back up. We had the state mask mandate that was lifted. A lot of places are still requiring masks, but it seems like life is kind of getting back to that normal, where hopefully there's an opportunity to do more community type things, right? That's what we're here for. So, Steve, I think to answer your question, I do think there's a sense of community. It'd be a little bit hard for me to compare it to other communities just because I was born and raised here in Salt Lake City. So what I know could be different from what you'd find in California or New York or Texas or Nebraska or any other state that's out there, or even other countries. So I think that's a little bit tough to say. I would say that a lot of people here, family is obviously a huge thing just with the LDS culture and just kind of the lifestyle that's here. It is common for people to get married younger. It is common for people to have kids younger, and family is a big part of all of that. So family is very, central here. I do think that there's, community stuff that happens, and hopefully that will kind of open back up as everything goes back to normal. Hopefully there'll be more community events like that. Who's got questions? If you got questions, drop a comment below. Like I said, we've got the Highland and Alpine video coming out next week, and we're going to be we're going to have a couple of videos up north coming out as well. Randy, who's my partner, who's going to be covering Davis and Weber County from now on for us here, is going to be working on some videos for Ogden. He's going to be making some videos about pros and cons of living there, what it's like to live there, doing some vlog tours. That stuff will be coming out hopefully within the next couple months, maybe, or next couple weeks, probably about a month or so, I would say, before we get all of that stuff set up and ready to go. So that will be really exciting. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. You can find that red button down below where you can subscribe. Click that bell so you get notified when new videos come out or when I do live streams like this. You want to make sure you've got that on so you get notifications about it. Does anybody have questions about the city, about malls, about coronavirus, about housing? Anybody who's got questions, drop a comment below and let's chat. All right, Jorge, what do I think about Eagle Mountain? Let's go look at Eagle Mountain together here on the map. I'm gonna pull this up again. So this is Eagle Mountain, and you've got two parts of Eagle Mountain. This is the thing I always have to say and point out when I talk about Eagle Mountain. So Eagle Mountain on the map is going to show right here. You've got, let me zoom in here. So you guys can see it a little bit better. I know it's kind of small there. So you do have Eagle Mountain, which you'll say it's right here on the map. This is considered Eagle Mountain City Center. Now you also have Eagle Mountain, the ranches, which is up here. You also have Saratoga Springs over here. So Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, the ranches, kind of morph into one city. I don't know exactly where the boundary is, but it's roughly in here somewhere. So when you point out Eagle Mountain, the ranches versus City Center, you do have to kind of point that out because Eagle Mountain City Center is another like 10 to 15 minutes out from the ranches. If you want to go from the ranches golf club out here to City Center, that's going to be like a good 15-minute drive. So it is kind of like two sections of the city. It's kind of weird. I don't know why they did that, but just nevertheless, you kind of just keep that in mind. So Eagle Mountain City Center, there's not a lot out there. They've got, I think, one or two schools now. It's been a while since I've been out to City Center. Honestly, it's mostly just houses out there. There's not a whole lot out there. Most of your shopping and if you want to go out to dinner or something, you're probably coming into Saratoga Springs or the ranches for that type of stuff. So you're kind of just out here. It is cheaper out there, which is a nice plus, but not a lot happening out there. It's just kind of empty out there. So something to keep in mind there. If you come out here to the ranches, this is going to be much more accessible for you. You've got this area here, which is all fairly new around the golf club. All of this has been built in the last, probably 20 years for the most part. So a lot of this is pretty new. And there's still a lot of land that's out here left to be built. So they've got a small airport here. You can see all these new communities. Eagle Mountain is great. I would say it's very family focused. It's relatively new. Prices have gone up pretty significantly, especially here in the ranches. So you are going to be paying more. I do think it's great. It's a great city. If it were up to me, I would probably spend, if I were moving out there, I'd probably spend the extra 5%, maybe up to 10% to live over here in Saratoga Springs. Reason why is you get much better views. I think you're closer into Lehigh. You're closer into these main areas like Provo, Orem, everything over here where it's mostly built out. You're a lot closer to all of that. You get amazing views across the city, and it's just a nicer area, I think, in my opinion. I just think it's got a lot more to offer. So I like Saratoga Springs for that reason. Steve, some cities are better having big events where everyone is invited, or some are libertarian. Yeah, not quite sure I understand your question there, but it will vary by the city, right? Obviously, you've got like, if you're downtown Salt Lake, that's going to be a much different feel than if you're in South Jordan. South Jordan, if you're over here in Daybreak is going to be a very community-focused city. So if that's the type of lifestyle you're looking for, then Daybreak might be the place for you. If you really want that community type feel, then I would say, yeah, come out here and check this out, because you've got a lot of these houses here. Like if we just kind of zoom in, I mean, these houses are really close together. Let me see. I'm trying to find a specific neighborhood here. You've got like these houses here where you'll basically have like this driveway that kind of comes in here. It's kind of this shared driveway. All of these have rear load garages, but like, let's take all these houses right here. All of these houses face this common area. So none of these houses, well, I shouldn't say none of them, but like these middle homes don't have their own yard. You're basically, your yard is going to be this front yard here. So it's really community focused, really focused for kids to be able to go out and play, right? Like if you're living here, you got kids, it's like, hey, send them out front, all the kids play together, or you have the barbecue out there or whatever. It's really focused on a community here, that type of thing in South Jordan. Whereas if you go to, other cities, let's say like downtown, obviously downtown has its own stuff going on too, but a lot of people will kind of just keep to themselves there as well. So Daybreak, you'll either love it or you'll hate it for that reason. If you like the community feel, then this is going to be a great option for you. You've got these trails, you can go biking, you can go hiking or walking on them, whatever. Or if you want the privacy, South Jordan, Daybreak is probably not the place for you. So with that being said, hopefully that helps, Steve. Pamela, how high is the elevation? That's a great question. Elevation in the valley is about 4,400 square feet, or not square feet, sorry, 4,400 feet above sea level. Elevation, Salt Lake. 4,200 in Salt Lake City. So Park City gets up to about 7,000. If you go up the canyons, if you go up to Snowbird, let's say, and you're on top of the mountain, you're going to be about 11,000 feet there. So elevation is pretty high compared to a lot of other areas. So something to definitely consider there. All right, who else has questions? Any other questions for me? Let me know also, if you guys are in the chat, let me know what videos you'd like to see. Not necessarily just questions that I can answer right here for you on the video, but like what videos would you like to see in the future? I've talked a lot about Salt Lake. I've talked a lot about different areas. I'm going to be doing new vlog tours for a lot of the cities that I've covered years ago on my past videos. So I'm going to be doing some of that stuff, but there's a lot of things that, there's a lot of topics that I probably haven't covered that people want to know about. So if you have questions or if you have suggestions, let me know. I'd love to see what you guys want to see. Brad, let's talk about Heber. So if we come back over here to our map, I'll show you where Heber's at. Right here. So the best way to really reference Heber first, the reason why I've got to do it like this, I'm going to jump over to this map. So you've got I-80, which comes up. This is Parley's Canyon, which will take you up into Park City. So Park City sits right here. And then just to the south of that on 189, you run into Heber. So you can get to Heber from 80, or you can get to Heber from taking 189 from Provo, which is, this is technically considered Provo Canyon. So as you come up Provo Canyon, you're going to pass Deer Creek Reservoir, and that will take you into Heber, and Midway's just here to the left. I really like Heber. I think Heber's great. You get amazing views because you're living in the city itself, but you're also in the mountains. You're not in Park City where it's extremely expensive. You get to live a little bit out of that. You kind of get that smaller town feel, and it's still a relatively decent commute into, like, let's say Salt Lake or Provo. You can get there in about 45 minutes, maybe an hour if there's weather or traffic, depending on where you're going exactly. Um, it is a good commute, but I think a lot of people would say it's worth it. If we jump over here to the satellite view, again, you can see this is basically in the mountains. So you've got a lot of farmland out here. A lot of this is being farmed still at this time, in Midway as well. And there's a lot of houses here. There's a lot of older homes that are kind of like old farmhouses, but then there's also a lot of new houses kind of up here on the hillside, that are going to be, more expensive. There's red ledges over here, which is going to be pretty expensive. Median home price in Heber is probably like, I don't know what the median is right off the top of my head, but I mean, I know a lot of houses are going to sell for like 700-800. So it's got to be somewhere in that range. Selling for 700,000-800,000, and it can go up from there. To get into Heber on the low end of the price range, you're probably talking like 550-600 for like something decent. And that might even be a stretch with how much the market's come up recently. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. I really like it. I think Heber's a great spot. If I didn't work in Salt Lake, or wasn't in this area so much, if I was working from home, this would be an area I would definitely consider, because you get kind of that smaller town feel. It's absolutely gorgeous. Some of the views that you can get there. Let's go see if we can just pull this up here. There's no way for us to really get into red ledges from the map here, but yeah, so like this is a relatively new community. They've got some new houses up here, and I mean, just look at these views all the way around. You put your house right here, you got your house sitting here, and you're looking off the back deck at just these gorgeous mountains all the way around. So Heber's awesome. I really like Heber. Heber's kind of similar to Midway in my opinion, as far as like the city feel and kind of the features and stuff. I think Heber's just a little bit bigger, so it's going to probably be a little bit more accessible. Let's see how to get back to the map here. There we go. So hopefully that answers some of your questions, Brad. Hopefully that's helpful for you in regards to Heber. I like it. You're in the mountains. If you're working from home, it's a great place to be. You're close to the state park for Jordanelle and Deer Creek. You're still close to skiing if you want to go into Park City for nightlife or skiing during the day, or hiking, mountain biking, anything like that. Super easy to get to here. So I think there's a lot to offer there. The only downside is it's a little bit far from the airport, and you're kind of secluded from like the city and kind of the rest of what's happening, which may be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. It depends on your own scenario. All right, so Steve, thank you for the suggestion. Maybe you can interview residents of different towns, cities, asking them about the vibe or feel of the place. That's a great suggestion, actually. I do kind of have a similar video that I've been working on for a while. I just need to get it out. It's kind of a review of past clients who've already moved here, talking about pros and cons, kind of their experience working with me and what they thought about, how it all worked logistically for them to make the move here. So I do need to get that out. I do like your suggestion of interviewing residents, asking about the vibe or feel of the place. That'd be kind of cool to do, like something kind of journalistic, I guess, maybe is the way to put it. I know I like hearing less about facts, prices, but about the vibe or energy and culture of the place. That's a really good point. A lot of people who reach out to me always say, hey, Cody, I'm really interested in knowing, what it's like to actually live there. And that's what people want to see. Is they want to see the houses. They want to see the streets, the trees, the sidewalks, everything like that. That's what people are really interested in. Because, talking about prices and numbers and facts and names and whatever, it doesn't really tell you much about the area. So I think that's a really good point. If we were to even just come in here, and just kind of show you this, like you can look at any of my videos, and I'm always kind of driving around areas, like showing you what these different neighborhoods look like, just on, Google Street Maps, or driving around the neighborhood. So this is the type of thing that's really kind of cool, is like showing you what the vibe is. So like this street here, yeah, this is an old part of Cottonwood Heights. A lot of these houses are like 1950s, 1960s. You've got some different homes here. If we come over here, you've got some newer houses. So Cottonwood Heights is kind of that thing. You've got the park strip, the sidewalks, you've got these big cottonwood trees. This is what people want to see. And I think this is really what's cool about doing those vlog videos. And so I know a lot of people really enjoyed those, and I hope that, I'm going to keep doing them. Like I said, we've got one coming out next week for Highland and Alpine, which would be really cool. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope you guys are as well. Look at that beautiful view of the mountain. All right, so questions. Leave a question if you have one. At this point, I was thinking about skiing. Most of the snow is about dried up. Skiing is pretty close to coming to an end. You can still go spring skiing. It's very warm and wet, but it is possible to go and do that probably through like first week of May, give or take a little bit. So that is something that people can do if you want to. But now's the time where we're into spring, we're getting rain. It was raining pretty hard earlier today here in Utah, and we're expecting rain for the next couple days. It's about, I don't know, like 45, 50 degrees outside. So it's like fairly warm, warm enough that it's not winter anymore. But after this, it's going to warm up. We're going to hit a lot of 70-degree days. And going into May, it's going to hit 80, 85. And then pretty quick, we're into 95 as we go into June. So here within the next 6 weeks, it's going to go from about 45 degrees outside all the way up to possibly, 95 or 100 at this point. So that's going to be a good change for the weather. All of the trees are getting their leaves. It's starting to look really pretty outside, and a lot's happening there. Brad, your question about owning pools. Not a lot of people own pools. We do have pools are common. People do have pools, but they're not as common as you'd find in like Phoenix or Las Vegas or Albuquerque or any areas like that, just because here you really only get to use them from Memorial Day through Labor Day. So you get about 4 months of use out of the pools. And so for most people, it just doesn't make economical sense to pay for the pool and to maintain it and, keep it heated and all that stuff for just 4 months of use. And so most people don't have pools. They just use a community pool or they will use like the HOA pool. Obviously, a lot of HOAs have pools, and so people will use that. But as far as people having their own private pools, people do, but not. It's not a super common. It's not like Las Vegas or Phoenix where it's like almost everybody has a pool, right? Like I think in Phoenix, it's like 50% of houses have pools, which is pretty insane. Here, I would say it's 1%. I don't know, maybe a little higher, 2 or 3% across the board, but most of it's going to be on like higher end homes, $1 million homes or more. So, Pamela, you are not LDS. Would you be a minority? That's a great question. It depends on where you're at. If you're in Salt Lake County, I would say that the way things are going, you would actually probably be in the majority now. The number of active LDS members in Salt Lake County, they don't release full exact numbers, but I would guess it's probably about 35 to 40% for people who are fully active LDS, go to church every week and follow all the rules, or all the guidelines, I should say. Those people, it's probably about 35 to 40% in Salt Lake County. If you're downtown Salt Lake, it's probably less. It's probably closer to like 20%. Obviously, if you go to like South Jordan, it's going to be closer to like, I don't know, probably 60%. But for across the board, Salt Lake County is going to be about 35%, give or take. So you would not be a minority there. However, if you do go to like Utah County, at last count, maybe like 5 years ago, I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but last count, Utah County was at a very high number. It was like 75% are active LDS, meaning that like they go to church and like, have some involvement on a regular basis. So if you're in Utah County, you would be a minority. I do think that's rapidly changing with how many people are moving here. I'd say probably 50% of the people I help are moving to Utah County, and most are not LDS, obviously, coming from out of state. It's just not very common. So most people are not LDS who are moving here, and so I do think that that ratio of how many people are LDS is going to go down pretty significantly over the coming years. I already know it has over the last couple of years, and I think it's going to continue going that way in Utah County. Davis County, you're probably right in the middle. You're probably about 50 to 55% LDS. So it's going to be, 1 out of every 2 people is LDS in that scenario. Steve, are there any community wave pools and water parks? Which towns have the best ones? Yes, there are. So coming back to the map, we'll show you guys this. Make sure we get this camera back on. It keeps shutting off on me. Thinks we're not here anymore. So there is one in Provo. You've got 7 Peaks. I can't remember exactly where it's at, but you do have one in Provo. You do have Cowabunga Bay, which is in Draper. That's going to be roughly... you've got Boondocks, which I believe has a small one. I can't remember exactly where Cowabunga Bay is, but there's a small water park there. And then there's like a lot of splash pads, you know, so for like full on water parks, there's only a couple. You've got Cowabunga Bay, which is here in Draper somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. And then up north in Davis County, you do have Lagoon. So Lagoon is kind of like our Six Flags. That's going to be right here. This is the amusement park. They do have a very big water park right here. Zoom in on the map. This is their water park. It's actually a pretty fun water park. I've had a lot of fun there in years past. So Lagoon is going to be your best bet for that. So for adults, that's probably your best option, is going to Lagoon. If you're just looking for like splash pads or whatever for kids, or like wave pools or swimming pools, you're going to be better off just going to like the community rec center, the HOA pool. Even a lot of the parks have those splash pads now where they just kind of have like the water fountains that are going where kids can go run through and stuff like that. So, all right, guys, I will. Oh, awesome. We got a couple more questions here. Theodore, just giving himself a shout out. I love it, Theodore. Thank you for tuning in here. Thank you for being a part of the live stream, giving yourself a shout out. Let me know if you have questions, Theodore. Priscilla, do I think the demand for houses will slow down during the winter season? Not sure if this is covered yet. Yeah. So demand for houses does always drop in the winter seasons. Let me pull up this map again, or the sales data. We did cover this at the beginning. So as I end this live stream, go back and check out the first part, like the first 10 or 15 minutes of the live stream, and this will answer a lot of your questions. I went into this in depth here. So sales data here, as we go into spring, we are expecting things to go up in inventory counts to go up. I do think that the number of houses coming onto the market will go up. Your specific question about demand for houses slowing down, it's a little bit tough because the demand is also kind of, you kind of have to gauge the demand off of where the inventory is at. Because if inventory drops like it did this year, you know, in January and February, we only had 1,300 homes sell each of those months. In my opinion, the demand seemed like it was as high as ever. Every single house that was out there was selling for a premium. I mean, you know, a home was listed at $430, it sold for $439. This is the median price for all homes across the Wasatch Front. In February, $444, it sold for $457, 3% over the list price on average. So that means that some homes are going to sell for the listing price. Some homes will sell for 5 or even 10% above the listing price in some cases. So I do think that demand is dependent on the inventory that's there. I do think that demand will drop in the winter months just because less people want to move when it's cold here in Utah. But I think that's also because there's less homes available to choose from. So some people will look at it and say, you know, honestly, I'm just going to move in the spring when there's more homes to choose from and I can get what I want. So yes, I do think that demand will slow. But I also think that, you know, that's kind of relative to the overall inventory in the market. What areas have the best bang for your buck? Johnny, that's an awesome question. Let me come back over here to the map. Best bang for your buck at this time. Man, the market has changed so much. It's kind of hard to really give you like an idea of that. Let me think about that for just a half second. Priscilla says, thank you. Thank you, Priscilla, for jumping onto the live stream here. Man, best bang for your buck. So, Johnny, maybe give me, let me know what you're thinking. Like, are you looking for like appreciation, or are you looking for like the biggest house for the cheapest price? You know, because there's always pros and cons to different areas. There's always, you know, there's always going to be lifestyle differences. Obviously, if you go out into the middle of nowhere, you can get a giant house for a really cheap price, but that comes with the downside of living out in the middle of nowhere. So, you know, something to kind of consider there. I would say that if you're thinking about appreciation, there's a couple of areas I have in mind. Rose Park is one that I always think of when that comes up. Rose Park is right here, just to the northwest of downtown Salt Lake. Rose Park has traditionally kind of been the rough side of town. You know, I'll be honest with you, 20 years ago, Rose Park was probably not the place you wanted to be out, you know, after dark type of thing. So, you know, Rose Park has always kind of had a bad rap. But I think it's going to go through a lot of gentrification over the next 5, 10, 15 years because it's so close to downtown. A lot of people want to live in Sugar House, but they just can't because it's so expensive. And so they're making this move over here to Rose Park. Poplar Grove is still a little questionable. You know, just be careful if you're moving there. The schools are not great. Crime rates are a little bit higher. These are just the facts. So just be aware of that. Poplar Grove is not great. Glendale, kind of same thing. These are kind of some rough areas, but I think Rose Park is right in that spot where it's going to see some gentrification. So if you're looking for appreciation, that's a great area. Also, if you're looking for appreciation, I mentioned this last time, that this area here, you're going to see a lot of growth here where they've got the Utah State Prison. So anything within this general vicinity, I think a lot of this is going to turn into like the tech industry and manufacturing and shipping. I think a lot of that's going to come in here. I wouldn't even be surprised to see a lot of that come in here in this area as well. And as that growth comes in, if you're looking for appreciation over the next, 10, 15, 20 years, I think that's going to be an area where you can't go wrong. With so much growth going into that area, if you've got a home that's close, or you've got a business or whatever, there's going to be so much growth happening here. It's just going to be insane. And, I think prices will continue to go up in those areas specifically. Brad, does solar work good in Utah areas? Yeah, that is a great question because we do get a lot of sun here in Utah. If I pull up the average sun days in Utah, let's see here. Let me go back to share my screen. If we go like this, so in Salt Lake City, Utah, we get average sunny days of 222 compared to the United States average of 205. Our rainfall is less than the normal average, but our snowfall is up. So in the winter, it's going to be lower. Obviously you're not going to get as much sun, so your solar might not work as well. It's also, in the winter, the cool thing about winters here in Utah, which I really like, is it's not like, some cities in the Northwest where it can just be cloudy all day. Generally here in Utah in the winter, it will either be snowing or a storm is coming through and it's really cloudy and whatever, it's kind of a dark day, or it's going to be sunny. We get a lot of blue sky, sunny days during the winter time. So we get a lot of sunny days during the winter, and then basically throughout the summer, it's almost entirely sun as well. So yeah, solar works great. Solar, I've thought about getting solar on my house. I think for me, it's still a little bit on the expensive side to make it, to justify it. Plus I kind of have an issue with, moving a lot. My wife and I have moved a lot. So we probably won't stick around in an area. So that's kind of one other thing that's kind of held me back. But as it continues to get cheaper, I will definitely be looking into solar myself because I would love to take advantage of that. Johnny, I'm glad I answered your questions. I hope that helped. Let me know if you have any other questions. Solar works good in Portland, so I'm sure Utah will be good. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Portland, but thank you, Jamie, for mentioning that. That's super helpful to hear your input there. Brad, that's awesome. Thank you. Theodore, moving to Salt Lake in May, would you recommend South Jordan or West Jordan or Harriman? What city has the easiest commute to South Salt Lake? So that's a great question. Let's jump over to the map again and take a look at the map here with you. So let's see, you said South Jordan, West Jordan, or Harriman. So West Jordan is here. South Jordan is here to the south, obviously. And then you've got Harriman kind of tucked up in the southwest corner here. Your main avenue to get to South Salt Lake is, depending on where you're at, right? If you live in Harriman, you're probably going to take Mountain View Corridor, which is this 85 that comes all the way up. This is going to come up here to West Valley. It stops at 4100 South currently, but you can see the road here, the dirt, they are expanding this, and this is going to take you all the way up here to 201 or 2100 South. It's State Route 201. So that road is going to come all the way up. It looks like it, I didn't notice this before, but it looks like it'll actually come over here into California Avenue, which is really cool. So a lot of the people who work in all these warehouses and stuff will have easy access for that. So if you're in Harriman, you're going to take Mountain View. That's going to take you all the way up here. You'll take 201 all the way over. That's going to take you over here into South Salt Lake. So that's going to be really good access for getting there from Harriman. Comparing West Jordan and South Jordan, West Jordan is going to be the cheapest. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're looking for a cheaper place, West Jordan is probably your best bet. If you're looking for something that's nicer, you want a bigger home, you want something that's, going to give you a little bit more lifestyle, a little bit better lifestyle, I'd probably recommend South Jordan for that case. Theodore, I'd have to find out if you have kids, if it's just you, if you're married, kind of what your specific situation is to kind of give you a better thought from that. But if you're in West Jordan or South Jordan, the commute you're going to be a little bit closer, but the commute from there into South Salt Lake is probably only 5 minutes less than it would be from Harriman, in most cases, once this Mountain View corridor is built out. So it really just depends on where you're coming from, where you're going to, but hopefully that helps. Hey, Steve, I'm sorry that I'm one of those people that moves all the time. I have moved a lot, but anyway, your question, do people plant multi-generational roots in the Salt Lake City metro area? I think it is becoming less common for people to do that. I think that was kind of the thing of generations past, where people bought a home and it was kind of a home for life, and they put down roots and lived there for 30, 40, 50 years. I don't think that's really a thing anymore. I think a lot of people are looking to, it's just kind of become the new lifestyle for people to move around a lot. And I would say here in Utah, probably the average home ownership, the average timeline that somebody owns a home is probably somewhere between 5 and 7 years. And then they're going to make a move. They're either going to move up into a bigger house, or as they grow older, they will probably move into a smaller house. So hopefully that helps. Mr. T, is the new Mill Creek City Center happening? Heard there's some activity near some old burger place. That's a great question. Let's jump over to Mill Creek. We've got Granite High School, which was right here. Let me make sure I've got the right address. Yeah, so you've got Granite High School right here, which was torn down. Not sure if this is what you're talking about. I wouldn't necessarily call this like Mill Creek City Center, but this is a very popular area in Mill Creek, 3300 South and 500 East. This would be kind of considered right in the middle of Mill Creek for what I would consider, but you've really got Mill Creek here, and then you've got East Mill Creek over here to the east side. So this area is mostly built out. I don't see any type of specific city center coming on or anything like that, but there will be a lot of houses going in here where Granite High School was at. This satellite map looks like it was from earlier this year. So some of the information, oh, you guys can't see the map. Sorry, guys. I got to get this on. So had the stream on in the wrong place. Sorry about that. So this is where this is the spot I was pointing out. You've got Mill Creek here. Everything here in white is going to be like mostly manufacturing, industrial, retail shops, banks, gyms, all that stuff. Kind of just your general like State Street type stuff. As you come over here east, this is where Granite High School is at. So this is where the development where they tore down the old high school, and they're building houses in there now. So there's going to be like, I don't know, a couple, probably about 100 houses, maybe 150 houses going in there. So that'll help add some housing to the area, especially for new homes. So yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily like Mill Creek City Center, but that's kind of something that's happening. Kind of the main part of Mill Creek would be Brickyard, which is right here. This is where there's a lot of shopping as well. So something to kind of note right there. Pamela, you're a veteran. Are there any veteran services in Salt Lake City or surrounding areas? Well, Pamela, I appreciate your service. My brother is also a veteran. I have two brothers who were in the service, actually, so thank you for that. I do know that they have the VA hospital right up here. Beyond that, I don't know of any specific veteran services. I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but obviously they got the VA hospital. I've heard mixed things about it. Some people like it, some people don't. I don't know if I don't know if that answers your question, but I don't know, maybe you can give me some more background on kind of like what you'd be looking for exactly. Jamie, thanks for tuning into the stream. Johnny, Carolina wants to know what's the most liberal suburban town you can think of. That seems like a loaded question. The most liberal town is going to be Salt Lake. To be totally honest, not to get political here, but Salt Lake City, just like any major city, is going to be very liberal. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but every single major city in the United States is more liberal than it is conservative. So kind of an interesting fact there. Every single state or every single city, even in the red states, is going to lean blue. Salt Lake City is no different. When you're down here in Salt Lake City proper, it does definitely lean very blue. But as you get outside of that, obviously it turns much more red. Some cities are more red than others. For instance, I would say that Draper is going to be much more red than West Valley, for instance. So it'll kind of vary. Caroline is trying to give me a loaded answer there, so I have to be a little careful with how I answer. But Yeah. Hopefully that helps answer any questions. Steven, moving to Salt Lake City area soon. Where would I recommend to look if you're a younger single adult? If you're looking for more of if you want to meet other people, you kind of want a more active lifestyle, stuff like that. You want bars, restaurants, activities, things to do. The first place I always, not knowing like really your story or anything, I would probably point you to Sugar House as a first option. Sugar House is great, super walkable. It is a hip, trendy place. Lots of young professionals in this area. I'd say the median age here is probably pretty young. Average age in this area is probably like, I don't know, 25, maybe 30. So it definitely trends much younger here. A lot of young professionals, that type of stuff here in Sugar House. Some other areas I'd recommend are like Bluffdale or Draper or even Lehigh. I think these could be other options where you'd have good work opportunities, good chance to meet other people, a lot of stuff to do, things like that. Good, Johnny. I'm glad that was helpful. What's up with Real Housewives of Salt Lake? I was shocked to see such obnoxiousness in a city like Salt Lake City. That's a good question, Steve. I have not seen the show. I don't know anything about it other than one of the ladies just got arrested for like tax fraud or something. I don't know. She just got arrested for something and charged with some like scam thing. So that was interesting. I don't know much about the show beyond that, other than, people like to think that Salt Lake is just a city out here that has a bunch of issues, or not issues, but it's just kind of a little weird because of the Mormon culture. But I don't think that's really the case. I think once people actually get out here and they see what Salt Lake City is all about, they kind of realize, hey, this is actually a really cool place to live. It's very business friendly. It's very, income tax is very reasonable. Taxes are very reasonable overall. It's a great place to live. Yes, housing has gone up significantly in the last couple of years, but cost of living otherwise is fairly affordable. So there's a lot to do. Yeah, I don't know. I think kind of Utah can get a bad rap, and so you throw a crazy show like Real Housewives in Salt Lake, and it's sure to get views. Pamela, yes. All you needed to know was that there's a VA hospital. Yes, I do know there's the one downtown. It's in the university area up here. Let me throw on the map again. Sorry. So you've got the VA hospital up here. I'm not sure if there's one in Provo or not. I believe there probably would be, but I don't know for sure. I'm sorry if there is. Mr. T, I'm glad that my channel has been helpful for you. You've been getting a lot of useful information, especially my point of view on videos when it snows from your truck. Yeah, that was a fun video to make. A little bit sketchy in some parts, but it was a really good video. It did. That video got a lot more views than I thought. So it was really interesting to see how many people actually wanted to find out what it's like to, drive in the snow here. So that was really interesting. If you guys have questions, drop them in the comment section. We're running through all these questions here together. So is the soil out there fertile for gardening? Brad, that's a great question. You can garden out here. Most people will use like topsoil or will like add soil for gardening. The natural soil is probably not the best. It's probably pretty sandy and a lot of clay type material. So it can be done. A lot of people do garden, but I think the natural landscape, the natural soil is probably not the best, to answer your question. Pamela, you are welcome. What is the best shop for upscale classic menswear? That's a great question, Steve. I shop online, so I have no idea. Most of my clothes come from different online services. I would probably recommend checking out the mall. Going to like Salt Lake City, going to City Center is probably your best option. City Creek Center. They have a lot of really nice nice shops there. So yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. All right, guys, I'm going to stick around for just a couple more minutes. Let me know if you have questions. Drop them in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer them here shortly for you. What else is going on in news today? Well, COVID cases are down, which is great. Vaccinations are up. There was no new deaths today. That's awesome. nothing really else happening in Utah real estate as far as anything we haven't talked about yet. So if you guys have questions, let me know. Drop them in the comment section. Okay, with that said, I am not seeing any other questions come through. So thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. If you're thinking about moving here, call me, text me, or email me anytime. I'm always available. My information is in the description box below. You can find it there. Reach out to me. I love talking to people. I've had people from all across the world reach out. Somebody from here from earlier today from Germany, which was really cool to see. I've had people from Dubai, South Africa, Japan, all across the world and all across the United States as well. So that's really cool to see. So reach out to me if you have any questions. Let me know. I'm always happy to chat. And I can't wait for you to make the move here to Salt Lake City. And with that said, guys, make sure to subscribe so you get that video next week on Highland and Alpine. That's going to be the vlog video coming out next week. Give me a thumbs up here on the video if you enjoyed this, and consider sharing it with a friend or family member who might also be interested in learning more about Salt Lake City, whether that's your spouse, it's your kids, it's mom and dad, maybe it's your brother, your sister, your business partner, or somebody else. Make sure to share it with them. I would really appreciate it. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm and helps me reach more people who are looking to move here to this area. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you later.